Welcome to Black Girl Say Something, where this black girl has something to say. In this episode, I'll just call it There's No Predictability. And so, as many of you know, if you're tuning in, most of you are probably South Florida locals. And for those of you who are not, yes, I'm in South Florida, and hurricane season is from June 1st to December 1st. And what that means is there is always a possibility of a hurricane during that season. Now, whether it actually will hit where I'm at is a different thing. But go here with me. When this topic came to me to speak about on the podcast, I do want to take the time to let you know that October, while it is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month, you also need to know that October we wear purple for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And as a survivor, I tip my hat to all of those who are survivors, and I pray for those who want to get out and don't know the way. So I will be leaving some information in the description of this episode with resources and a number that you can reach out to for help and assistance for leaving. With that being said, hurricane season did prompt me to talk about predictability and the possibility of predictability, so to speak. So just go here with me, and I'm going to try not to ramble because when it came to me, it was like, I got to record this right now. So with that being said, I think about how with hurricane season, you know when it's going to happen, you know the season, so you prepare for it. Like for me, I'm going to prepare. Hurricane season starts in June. In April, I'm like, hey, we're going to get these amount of waters. These are our hurricane waters. We're not going to drink them. I start in like May, beginning of May before Memorial Day. I start buying like canned goods like tuna, and noodles and peanut butter. And my daughter can't have peanut butter, so it's like jelly. And I'm just trying to like prepare, right? And then let's just say like in recent time we had, I don't know what the hurricane was before Milton, but there was a hurricane before Milton, which got us a day off at the end of September. The kids didn't have school, so there was no school, no work. And then recently, the kids ended up getting like 3 days off of school this week. So this week was a weird week because they only had school on Monday and Friday. And then next Monday is no school for Indigenous People Day / Columbus Day. So with that being said, there's a predictability and you can prepare. But how does that tie in? It's like, black girl, how does that tie into domestic violence? Well, for me and my personal experience, I recently made a post on YouTube, a YouTube short, if you will, where I put the trigger warning. I said, this is about domestic violence. We have to understand that it takes a woman 7 times before she leaves. And a high achiever like myself, it took me 3. On the 3rd time I left. So not everybody is as fortunate, and some women never make it to 7. Why? Because before they can even actually leave on that first try, whoever takes them out. Now, that's not just to say only women are subject to domestic violence. While spouses, husbands can be victims of domestic violence. Domestic violence does not only happen in heterosexual relationships, but also in the LGBTQIA plus community as well. And this is my research from my health science background. So with that being said, I think about like how meteorology is a science. Everything that we can think about, there is a science to it. And they can predict, they can tell you the names of the storms. They can tell you the possible path of the storm. You can prepare for the storm, whether it comes or not. You can prepare for the storm. You can know that even if you put sandbags at your front door, there's a possibility that water still will get in your house and flood. But you know what we cannot predict? We cannot predict if our spouse or our partner is going to put their hands on us, if they're going to be violent with us, if they're going to emotionally, financially, physically, mentally, spiritually. We cannot predict if they're going to abuse us. And that came into my mind because when I made the post on YouTube Shorts, someone commented and was like, All women have to do is just pick better. Duh. And I don't know if they were saying it to be satirical or if they were saying it to be just downright nasty. But even as somebody who can be as prepared as I can be for a hurricane, I still know that there's going to be damage. The downfall to people is that we cannot predict. You can predict and say, you can make a prediction and say, you know what? If someone was to put their hands on me who I'm in a relationship with, I would probably beat them up. You can predict that. But then it happens. And you don't know. And so you cannot make the prediction. You cannot know. People say actions speak louder than words, but I don't find that to necessarily be true, because the actions set the intention of the motive. The words, I should say. The words set the intention for the actions. So if somebody say, hey, I'm going to put my hands on you, you have to trust that they're going to do it, right? But there's no predictability in a person who decides they want to get irate and put their hands on you. We can't predict what people are going to do. We barely could even predict what we're going to do, right? And so it's one of those things where I think about how this week went recently, and I had no clue that the kids were going to get so many days off. Even so much so, my children, I'm one to really work with them. I enjoy when they're home because there's always something to do. Like recently, we painted pumpkins. I think that was last week when they didn't have school. This week, when they didn't have school, I let my daughter sleep in. I took my son to the park. And this was after the hurricane had passed over. Of course, my area was not in the zone to get hit, but we got a lot of wind, some rain, and pretty much when it got later in the night on Thursday night, or should I say Wednesday night, the wind really picked up so much so that I had to bring some things in off the porch. But other than that, everything was okay. So Thursday, took my son to the park. He played basketball for a little bit. He played on the playground, and he had a good time. So I always have a good time when my kids are home. But also I think about like the teachers. The teachers need off so that they can prepare. Not everyone is as prepared, right? While I live by the 5 Ps, prior preparation prevents poor performance. That is not always the case when you are in relationship with people. The 5 Ps, I'm going to say in my experience, they haven't necessarily helped me in identifying that, hey, I can be prepared for the fact that I'm going to have to get a divorce one day, or I can be prepared for the fact that I might end up in a domestic violence situation and have to claw my way out of that situation with the court's help, with legal protections, protecting my children, getting therapy. Like nothing could have ever prepared me for that, which is crazy because no matter how many hurricanes I've been through or been in, or tornado warnings and watches, I always find myself to be somewhat substantial in my level of preparation. That when people are like, hey, did you get water? I've had water already. Did you get batteries? Oh, I don't have to go to the store. I don't have to go and get anything. I start filling up all the tumbler cups with water, boiled water, put water in them and put them in the freezer. I'm prepared. But people are not as predictable. And so I just thought about that difference of signs, I guess you can say, because the science in meteorology is predicting the weather. When we could say there's 50% chance of rain, you can't be in relationship with somebody or get with somebody like there's 50% chance of abuse, and that's the scary part about it, because while hindsight being 2020, and I'm glad that I survived the hindsight to even still have 2020, even in the cases where you just never know, like people really do a complete 360, a complete change around, or they do a complete turnaround, and it's like it's somebody different. A complete 180. Sorry, scratch that previous statement. They do a complete 180 and there's somebody totally different. And so the person who you get with in the beginning may not be the person you get with in the end. And then, eventually their signs are there. But you don't know. You don't predict the possibility of being with someone, going forward and getting married, going forward and having not one but two children, only for them to turn out to be the way that they are to you. Like, you can't predict that. Like, I couldn't have predicted that, right? Because I thought we were okay, right? As long as I did what I had to do, I hunkered down. I was the good wife. I was the good mother. I made sure every move that I made was very calculated to make sure that my family was okay. But I couldn't have predicted that would be the thing that person no longer liked about me and used it against me to, one, emotionally, mentally, physically abuse me. You can't predict it. So if you're listening to this and you're in a situation, I want you to let you know I'll leave some information in the link of this, in the description of this episode. Of course, to all of those who are listening, there will be some links in the description of this episode. And it is now 10 days until my birthday. I will be turning 37 in 10 days, and I'm pleased with it. And, I want to also add, the predictability of it all is I was supposed to go see Usher on October 14th, and that got moved to December. And you just cannot predict these things. Just wanted to throw that in there. So that was the only plan I had for my birthday. So I'm kind of bummed about it. But with that being said, it is what it was. I'll make other plans. I'm always really good at making plans and finding something else to do. But that was the only plan that I had. Because, of course, I have to do continuing education to renew one of my professional license, which we have to do every 2 years. And it just so happened this is the 2 years that they decide they want to do it actually on my birthday weekend, the 18th, 19th, and 20th. And my birthday's on the 21st, which is a Monday. But anywho, I'll leave some information in the description of this episode. Be safe, be well, and thank you for listening, because this Black girl has something to say.